Hello and welcome to SL Chennai Speaks Out. I'm Sanjay Pinto. Do we care enough for the differently abled? That's our topic. When it comes to public spaces or public transport, do we care enough? When it comes to mindsets, have they changed? Just recently, the Tamil Nadu government set up an exclusive wing for the differently able to function directly under the Chief Minister's office. But is all this mere tokenism? To debate this, we've got in our studio Rajul Padmanabhan, somebody we worked very closely with over the last many years. Rajul is the director of Vidyasagar. We've got Hema Jairam, the director of WeCan. Nakshatra Roy, who's the director corporate communications of True Value Homes. He will represent the builder fraternity here. We've got Madhumati Achuntan, director Spastic Society of Tamil Nadu. Another person we've worked very closely with, Meenakshi, who is the Assistant Coordinator of the Disability Legislation Unit, Dr. Prasad from Pathway, Gopi from Netrodaya. Let's look at a few clips to show you how insensitive we as a society can be. Shocking visuals of how unfriendly and dangerous public transport can be for the disabled. This is a daily ordeal for passengers like Rajiv and Dhanashekaran, volunteers of a special school in Chennai.
It was very clear that the conductor or the driver did not wait for me to get into the bus. In fact, I would have got injured myself. But luckily, my friend helped me to not fall, rather.
A Tamil Nadu government order says disabled passengers whose physical impairment is more than 40% can travel free of cost in state-run buses. But strangely, it doesn't apply to their wheelchairs. Well, this is Rajiv's wheelchair. He says it's almost like his leg, and he's now being charged for luggage whenever he travels on state transport buses.
It's like he'll ask for a ticket for the wheelchair.
It's like a crutch is being used as an aid for me. Wheelchair is an aid for Rajiv, people like Rajiv. So it definitely cannot be treated with par with any vegetable sack.
Only a small percentage of state-run buses are easily accessible for disabled passengers. But when it comes to getting their votes, the government seems very sensitive to their needs. In Chennai, Sanjay Pinto, NDTV. Has anything changed? Because I still keep getting SMSs from Rajiv saying that there are bus conductors who still insist on charging for wheelchairs.
Yeah. Recently also when he was to travel from Tenkasi to Madurai, they said they can't carry the wheelchair and he has to buy a ticket for the wheelchair as a luggage, and we took it again. But the managing director of the transport corporation, state transport corporation, he said like all the circulars have been issued and people are sensitized, and the conductors not knowing about the circulars, no excuse for charging.
Gopi, tell us about your struggle to have that school opened.
Local residents, they were up in arms. They don't want visually challenged community to come and stay in their midst. They just couldn't withstand. They were just trying to say, there were 37 IAS officers, 4 retired judges. All of them are educated, and this education has never given them any sort of a knowledge. And they have full of myths, and they say that seeing a blind people day in and day out, our children will get depressed. And they say our land prices will dip. These are the stupid reasons which they state, and they said, we don't want you people to be here. We want you people to get away from this place, and so that we will recommend the government to give a place somewhere far from our vicinity. This is the mindset of the people, so-called educated bureaucrats, technocrats.
Rajul, one is choked when you listen to Gopi's story. I mean, the struggle he had to actually go through to even build a school for the visually challenged. Do you believe mindsets have changed at all?
People are talking the right language. One is speaking a language, one is seeing it done. I think that gap is very large even today, though we are speaking the right language.
Nakshatra Roy, I mean, we call the government, we're not going to make you a whipping post here, but we did call various government authorities to be part of this show, but for obvious reasons they chose not to participate in this, fine. But you represent the builder community here. I know True Value Homes transplants old trees when you come up with your projects. Do you build ramps?
See, first let me clarify a point. Disability doesn't just mean using a wheelchair. There are various kinds of disabilities, and if you look at studies, 25% of all disabled people, 25% of them are immobile. And out of that, a fraction of them require wheelchair. So if you're talking about disability in the whole...
No, but even if a fraction requires a wheelchair, do you provide ramps for them to use those wheelchairs and enter your spaces?
Number one is building the ramps. Just a plain glazed ramp is not going to solve your purpose.
No,
you have to grate it.
You build whatever is required.
Building every square inch of any complexes that we build, we try to make it as accessible as possible, whether it's by ramp or using grab rails. Now, grab rails, why? Visually challenged people might not have the use of ramps. They are very comfortable in steps, but they need. If there's somebody who's got asthma, they are breathless. A ramp is a useless space for them. So you need to think of the entire spectrum. There are old people with,
So as builders, as a builder, True Value Homes is willing to do all this and more. I mean, you build lap pools, you build a helipad on the top, for the rich and famous. Will you build these things as well in your projects?
All our people will be able to go to the helipad and take a helicopter if required. Let me put it that way.
But the luxury is a part where you build the necessities for many people in the audience here.
Any of our complexes.
You will make a promise on this show that in all your projects you will adhere to this.
So our point is...
You will make a promise.
Yes.
You will make a promise here and now.
We will create environments which will be accessible without any embarrassment to everybody in public.
All right.
Whoever is using it.
We will have another show after a few months and we'll come back to you and we'll hold you to your promise.
Definitely.
Yes, but thank you for making that promise. Ma'am, I want to quote Javed Abidi here, who says, masala grinding, envelope making, pasting and candle making are not enough for the disabled. Do you agree? Because we take great pride and, the pictures published in the newspapers about, the disabled actually coming up, self-help groups. But that's not enough. This is what Javed Abidi himself says.
Yeah, that is not enough because, see, the very word, now they are calling it differently able, but still, people immediately think candle making, paper bag making, jute making is the right option for people with disabilities. But it is not so. And I would like to quote an instance. Recently, we had a job fair for people with cerebral palsy, mental retardation, autism, and multiple disabilities. So many of them actually, when we first sent mails to many employers, they asked, what can they do? So really, they need to be told about what are the potential of the people, and it is just like any other people who can, anybody for that matter, attending a job fair. So we had nearly 330 registrations and nearly 35 employers came, but they all need to be sensitized, and finally at the end of the day, 130 were selected for the job. But talking about the transport,
what were these jobs, ma'am, that they got selected for?
They got, it was a mixed group of employers. Some came from the hospitality industry, that is even for cleaning or for billing or for taking orders, and many from the IT sectors for front office and as well as back office. Some came from the supermarkets for packaging and other things.
So what can they do is a ridiculous question in hindsight.
Yes.
You're the director of We Can. What goes through your mind when you hear such comments? What can they do when employers ask these questions?
Whenever something is concerned with disabilities, it is looked at as a welfare work, charity, charitable work, welfare. People who do something, I'm not saying all of them, a lot of them do it for a feel-good factor. The employers, some of them may think, I'm doing it to get my ISO 9000 certification. I employ the disabled.
The moment you do something for the differently able, view that as charity, or in some cases, corporates look upon it as some sort of conscience cleansing.
Very true. I think we have still not moved very much. We still are in a charity mode in India. Many years ago, I was talking to the chairman of ONGC, and I said some of our children, bigger boys with intellectual disability, who did extremely well, they could be employed perhaps as lift operators or even to carry few things of papers. And I suggested, why don't we give jobs to them at ONGC? You are one of the richest bodies in India with oil making. And he said, Dekho bhai, don't trouble me, ye chak lekar bhago idhar se. Please go away, take this donation and leave. With my own sister who was mentally handicapped, my neighbors never came to know that she was there as one more sister. Her presence or her presence as a sister was known to public when her body was carried out. That means even my parents you know, didn't want it to be known to the society those days. Things have changed. But when we come to this vocational aspect, particularly for the jobs are making things, we are still in that mode. They come and say, is it really done by the intellectually disabled? We don't believe it. We don't believe it. They are good to make candles, perhaps, make few things. I think we are still in that mode. Things have to change. The CSR is a big joke.
CSR is all about PR.
Like I know lots of people who are disabled in something or the other, or challenged in something or the other, but they excel extremely well in something else. So once we know what it is, and we've got a counselor who can channelize them in that direction, then they'll do quite well other than just making candles or incense sticks.
Nashatra, not just to talk about True Value homes, but the builder community as such. Research has indicated that it costs just about 2% extra to make a building disabled friendly. Do builders still fuss about that?
See, there are some things which are visible, there are some things which are invisible. The taps, which you've got that rolling tap, that is not very, people with physical challenges, it's not very friendly to them. You need ones with levers. If you look at a doorknob, if it is a round one, there are people with a gripping problem will have a problem in opening those doors. You need ones with the handles. So these are small things which are not visible to everybody that the developers are doing. All we want to see is a ramp, whether a ramp is there or not, which is incorrect. Whether there's a grab rail, whether there's an anti-skid tiles in the floor of the bathroom or the kitchen. These are things that we have to see which is not visible to everybody. But these are things which are getting done. It doesn't cost 2%, sometimes it costs lesser. Sometimes it might cost more, but you need to figure.
Actually, if the buildings are not accessible, you're actually violating a law. True. I think that is now, I think we need to talk that, because there is an act which mandates that all public buildings have to be accessible. And whether it costs 2% or whether it costs 5% or 1%, actually builders are violating a law and we are accepting it. It's not a question of ramp.
How do they actually get a completion certificate if you've not adhered to these norms?
Building being accessible is the lifts, the staircases, being accessible whether you're in a wheelchair or whether you can hold a rail, grab rail, and you can go to that space and you can move to your place of domicile. That's what the rule says. Everybody is doing that. But the point is you've got a lift. In front of the lift, couple of people or steps, in front of that or ramp, people have parked their two-wheelers or four-wheelers. It makes it impossible. You've got a grab rail in lots of our buildings we've seen that small children are chaining their bicycles.
Talking of government buildings, the Office of the Commissioner of Disabilities in Tamil Nadu is on the first floor.
Forget about people who have disability, guys like me who put on more weight. It's impossible to climb. And I always, whenever I go, I always think how any disabled person can go up.
Ma'am, what do you, I mean, how many buildings, public spaces, be it malls or theaters, or even, you know, Chennai is known for its music festival, even the sabas, how many of them are disabled friendly?
Here we're talking about physical access, okay, be it ramp, be it anything, but we're talking about physical access. What about the mental access that exists? I mean, I work with kids who are physically fine. They could climb, I think, I mean, just on pipelines. They don't need even steps. They're physically fit and fine. But what about the mental acceptance, the access to public places because of the attitude of society, which restricts them? I mean, legally they are fine. Everybody is legally within their limits. Nobody is throwing them out or pushing them out. But then there is an attitude, an unsaid
a lot
feeling.
To be desired there. On that note, time to slide into a short break on SL Chennai Speaks Out. When we come back, we'll talk about public transport. How accessible is public transport?